S-E-M-E-N-T-I-L-L-I. Last name is Verna. He's in Victor. E-R-N-A.
May proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective Verna, are you currently employed?
I am not.
Are you retired?
Yes.
When did you retire?
In 2020.
When was that?
June of 2020.
Okay. Approximately how many years were you at your previous employment?
20 years.
And where was that?
Los Angeles Police Department.
And in what capacity were you working when you retired in June of 2020?
I was a homicide investigator for Valley Bureau.
Okay. And how many years had you worked in a homicide unit or division?
9 years.
Okay. And how long were you assigned to Valley Bureau Homicide?
It was established in 2016, so approximately 4 years.
Okay. And approximately how many homicide detectives were assigned to Valley Bureau Homicide at the time when you were there between 2016 and 2020?
There were approximately 18 working detectives, along with additional supervisors and support staff.
Approximately how many homicides did you personally handle yourself?
Over my 9 years?
Yes.
Approximately 30.
Okay. And approximately how many homicide cases did you assist on?
Hundreds.
Okay. And did you work on the case of the murder of the victim in this particular trial, Fabio Sementilli?
I did.
And were you assigned as one of the investigating officers to this case?
I was.
And did you have a partner with you?
Yes.
And who was that?
Gene Parshall.
Okay. Is he now deceased?
He is.
Okay. And was there, when you work on a case, whether it be a homicide or any other type of case within LAPD, are cases assigned within LAPD some type of unique tracking number?
Yes.
Can you explain that?
Yes. Each case is given what's called a DR number. It's a series of digits, so it starts off with the year, and then so it'd be a two-digit number, and then a two-digit number for the division it's assigned to, and then a five-digit number for the actual case itself as it progresses. So
sequentially through the year?
Yes. So the first case assigned in the year would be 0001, and then it would move on from there.
Okay. And is this referred to the LAPD DR number? Is that like a divisional report number?
Yes.
And the divisional report number for this case, was that 17-21-05194?
Yes.
Is that a unique case number within LAPD?
Yes, it would only be assigned to one case.
And if it's a unique case number, then throughout your investigation, what happens to any evidence that is collected pursuant to your investigation?
It is also booked to that particular number.
Okay. And did you and your partner, Detective Parshall, handle the investigation into the homicide involving Fabio Sementilli for several months?
Yes.
And at some point in time, was the case reassigned to LAPD's robbery homicide division?
It was.
And is that something that happens occasionally to cases that you would initially be assigned to?
Occasionally.
Okay. And when does that happen?
In general, when does that happen?
Yes.
Well, it comes with a lot of discussions internally within our bureau, and then it would come with discussions within robbery homicide division, and ultimately there's particular reasons why it would be reassigned.
Okay. So. And is there usually a common reason why it may be reassigned from the divisional level to robbery homicide division?
Yes. I mean, we have within our bureau we have limited resources. We have a limited number of detectives that can handle cases, and when they grow outside the scope of what's a normal case within our bureau, then we have to start looking for outside resources.
Okay. And is the robbery homicide division one of those resources?
Yes.
And so did you handle this case from January 23rd of 2017 through sometime in March of 2017?
Yes.
And were you still involved in this case after it was assigned to the robbery homicide division in March of 2017 until the arrest in June of 2017?
Yes, in some capacity.
Okay. And did you work between March and June, the date of arrest, together with the detectives from robbery homicide division?
Yes.
Do you recall who those detectives were?
Yeah, it was Detective Barry Tellis and Detective Chris Gable.
Okay. And during that period of time, did you and or your partner build a relationship with the defendant in this case, Monica Sementilli?
Yes, we did.
And did you also interview her on a couple of occasions?
Yes.
Do you see her here in court?
I do.
Can you identify her for the record, please?
Yes, she's seated to my right, wearing a blue blazer with a white shirt.
Indicating the defendant.
Thank you, Your Honor. And when the case was transitioning to the robbery homicide division, did you and your partner make the defendant aware of the fact that the case was being transferred to robbery homicide division, or was that kept secret?
It was kept secret.
Okay. And for what reasons?
Well, at the time there was a belief that she may be involved in the case as a suspect, so we weren't going to play our cards that way.
Okay. On the date of January 23rd of 2017 at about 6:30 in the evening, were you notified of a homicide?
Yes.
And how does it work when you're assigned to a homicide division in terms of notifications?
Well, typically there's a radio call that's generated. Officers are dispatched and respond to the scene. Once there's a confirmation that someone has passed away from a homicide, they will notify their division watch commander, who then notifies our supervision at our bureau, and then they notify us. And so we would respond from where we were, which in this case was my house.
Okay. So if you are assigned to a homicide division, does that mean that you can be called out at all hours of the day and night, including
Yes.
weekends? Okay. And so after you were notified, as you mentioned, about 6:30 p.m. of this homicide, approximately what time did you arrive at the scene of 5012 Queen Victoria Road in Woodland Hills within LA County?
Approximately 8:10 p.m.
Okay. And do you recall how long you were there or what time you finally left the scene?
I believe it was sometime around 2:30 in the following morning.
Okay. Your Honor, I have a set of photos that is marked crime scene. It contains 82 pages. May this set of photographs be marked, please, as People's 8. I'm sorry, 7.
Yes.
Showing you what's been now marked as People's 7. If you could just take a brief look through those.
Did you want me to look through every page?
Just take a brief look and tell me, have you previously reviewed this entire packet?
Yes, I have.
And do the documents, the photographs that are contained in this packet accurately depict what you observed at the crime scene on the evening of January 23rd, 2017?
They do.
Thank you. Your Honor, I have another set of crime scene photos that is labeled Crime Scene Patio, victim Fabio Sementilli, and it is 25 pages in length. May it be marked, please, collectively as People's 8.
It may.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I approach?
Counsel can approach at any time without permission.
Thank you, Your Honor. Showing you People's 8. Can you again briefly look through those photographs?
Yes.
Have you previously reviewed this packet?
Yes.
And again, do these photos accurately depict what you observed at the crime scene that night?
They do.
Thank you. Your Honor, I have a third set of photographs that is labeled Sementilli Residence with the address. It is 24 pages in length. May it collectively be marked as People's 9.
Yes.
Thank you. Showing you People's 9. Again, if you could review the photographs contained in that packet.
Yes.
Have you previously reviewed this packet?
Yes.
And again, does this set of photos accurately depict the crime scene or the, not necessarily the crime scene, but the residence that you were at on that evening, January 23rd of 2017?
Yes, it depicts the residence.
Okay. Not necessarily taken on 23rd, but photographs of the residence you were at on January 23rd?
Correct.
Thank you. Your Honor, at this point, we are going to switch to another witness. We just wanted to mark some exhibits. If Detective Verna could step off the stand, we will subsequently recall him.
Not quite. You may cross-examine.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective Verna, those 3 packets of photographs, were they taken at your direction?
No.
So there were other LAPD officers on the scene when you arrived?
There were.
Was there personnel from the crime lab there as well when you arrived?
Not when I arrived, no.
So these photos were taken after you arrived?
Yes. 2 of the packets, the first packet I was shown are overall pictures of the crime scene. The second packet were photos of the decedent for the most part, in position where he was. And then the third packet was taken at a later time. I believe those photos were when the home was listed for sale, for the most part.
So that would have been, what, weeks later?
I think months later.
Months later. At your direction? The photos were
I
taken-
didn't direct the home to be sold, no.
No.
Yeah.
You didn't buy it either, no.
I did not, no.
I'm talking about the photos
Yes.
that were taken weeks later. Was that at your direction?
No, I believe it's something that the realtor did when they listed the home.
I see. So that wasn't part of LAPD's investigation?
Correct.
But you've identified them as photographs you've seen before, and it accurately reflects the location that is depicted in the photographs.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's right.
And the first set of photographs, does the crime lab or SID, if that's the initials, decide which photographs to take of the victim and the crime scene and so forth, or do you direct them in any way?
For the most part, they're directed at what's going to be of interest to us. They do take overalls that they take themselves. We don't need to direct them to take an overall of a house, or most likely the vehicles that are parked out front. That's something they just kind of do themselves.
So they take it upon themselves to decide what photographs might be necessary for the investigation and so forth? Or do you assist in any way?
We assist to a certain degree. I mean, like I said, when they show up, they do what's called overalls. So they'll take pictures of the general house, the street, vehicles that are parked in the driveway, things like that. Now, when it comes to actual pictures of the decedent, we kind of direct like how they're going to be taken from, what angles, what's important. If there's evidence that's at the scene, we direct them where the evidence is at to take photos of that stuff.
What about the rest of the house that is not the actual crime scene? Are photographs taken of the entire house and bedrooms, other rooms, and so forth?
I don't recall if they were taken all over the house at this location. I know there's like a second floor that wasn't in play, so I don't know if there was pictures of those rooms or not.
You don't recall directing them to take photographs of anywhere else in the house other than the actual crime scene, garage, and so forth?
I don't recall, and I don't know if it was necessarily my call on which photos were taken. I'm just talking in general about how things work.
So there may be other photographs besides the ones that you looked at that were taken in this case.
There
is that
could be.
right? Okay. You indicated at some point that you, the case was transferred. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that was because you needed more personnel. Did I hear that right?
I can give you specifics if you'd like.
Well, I heard more personnel was necessary
Correct.
to engage in the actual investigation.
Correct.
Things like tailing the suspects and so forth.
Yes, there was a belief at one point in time that a wiretap would be necessary in this case, and to run a wire room, it's virtually impossible for our bureau to do something like that. So in that case, yes, it was out of our scope of the realm of what we could do.
Okay, and also entailing suspects and so forth.
Well, we don't do that in general. We don't have the ability, we don't have the cars, we don't have the manpower, so that's why we reached out to other agencies within our department to handle that, like G&D.
And other agencies were reached out in this case.
Correct.
Okay. You indicated you did not communicate with Ms. Sementilli and that she was a suspect in the case, obviously, correct?
Say it again, sir?
You did not communicate to Ms. Sementilli that she was a suspect in this case.
Oh, absolutely not.
Right. And you never told her that Mr. Baker was a suspect in this case. Is that correct?
No, sir.
It is correct.
Oh, it's correct, yeah, but we didn't, yeah. No, we did not tell her.
You had, by that time, through scientific evidence, pretty much established that he was a prime suspect as one of the two murderers. Is that correct?
At one point we did, yes.
And then you continued your investigation for several months without notifying Ms. Sementilli of that fact. Is that correct?
Yeah, they seemed pretty friendly, so we did not.
We've established that. We've established that. And there was a second murder you were aware of. Is that correct?
We knew there was an additional suspect at the time, but we did not know who it was.
And did you continue your investigation into the identity of that individual?
Yes.
And I take it you were long gone from the force by the time that he was identified and arrested. Is that a
That's
fair
correct.
statement?
Yes.
Do you have any role in the case after you retired,
No.
other than testifying here today?
No, sir.
Can you tell us approximately when you determined that Mr. Baker was a suspect in this case?
I believe the date was February 14th, 2017, when the DNA results came back.
And that was due to scientific evidence and the results of DNA being found in locations in the car and so forth, which would indicate that he had been present, his blood was present, and so forth.
Correct.
So from that date, he was a suspect.
Yes.
Could have been arrested.
Could have been.
And from that day on, one of your duties was to try to document whether or not he and Ms. Sementilli were having an affair. Is that right?
It wasn't about whether they're having an affair or not. That's not the...
You knew that
I
already?
wasn't investigating an affair.
Well, you were investigating a murder, correct?
Yes.
And during the course of the murder, you uncovered evidence that they were having an affair. Is that
Yes,
right?
that is correct.
And that was a major part of your investigation, correct? Documenting that.
Documenting it, yes. It's whether or not they had an affair is not part of my homicide investigation, though.
Right. It's irrelevant whether or
Right.
not they were having an affair. What's relevant is whether or not she participated in the murder.
Absolutely.
And that's what your investigation was focused on.
Correct.
Correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything further by the people?
Yes, briefly on these topics. Would it be fair to say that even though you had DNA evidence pointing to Robert Baker as being at the crime scene and also being in the victim's Porsche that was stolen after the murder, that you and the other homicide detectives at Valley Bureau continued to investigate him along with anybody else that you suspected might have been involved prior to making any arrests?
Yes.
Nothing.
Anything further by the defense?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Detective Vernon. You may stand down.
Thank you.
You may call the next witness.
People call Officer Gabriel Revelada.
That's it. Anything new in the interview?
I know who it's supposed to be. It's just,
Okay.
I went out and checked to see if she was outside, but she wasn't there yet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to move it anywhere? Move as you like.
Maybe you could please face me and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please have a seat in the witness stand. And for the record, say and spell your first and last name, please.
First name is Gabriel, Gabriel. Last name Revelado, R-E, B as in boy, O-L-L-E-D-O.
Thank you. Officer Revelado, what do you do for a living?
I'm a police officer with the Los Angeles Police Department. I'm currently assigned to Evidence Property Management Division, Caribbean,
How long have you been a police officer?
approximately 12 and a half years.
And can you describe your current duties, what you just told the court?
Yes. So what I do is I go to different divisions within the Bureau and pick up any analyzed evidence and transport to forensic science over at Cal State LA, Harbor Tech, and Central Property.
Prior to that, were you a patrol officer?
Yes.
Back in January of 2017, then what was your assignment?
I was a patrol officer at Devonshire Division.
Okay, and what are your duties entail as a patrol officer in general?
In general, respond to radio calls and enforce any violations of traffic.
So I'm going to ask you about January 23rd, 2017. Did you respond to a radio call then at 5012 Queen Victoria Road in Woodland Hills, Los Angeles County?
I did,
Was that about 5:45 p.m.?
approximately, yes.
Now, when you got a call, can you explain how a call comes through to you to respond to a location?
So a call will come out, depending on the severity of the call or urgency. It'll come out as a code 2, code 3, or a code 1. Code 3 would be lights and sirens. Code 2 would be get there as soon as possible. And code 1 would be, maybe like a neighbor dispute or, noise complaint.
Do you know what code this one was?
I believe it was a code 2.
So did you respond directly to the location?
I did.
Now, you just explained it, but did you have on lights and sirens, if you recall?
I did not. The comments of the call was to meet the fire department for a possible assault victim.
Were you working that night then in a what we call black and white patrol police vehicle?
Yes,
Were you working with a partner?
I was.
Who was your partner?
Officer Duncan?
And were both of you in uniform, meaning police LAPD uniform?
Yes.
Now, and when you mentioned Devonshire, is that just a station within the Los Angeles Police Department?
It is.
And it covers the Valley area, and does that cover Woodland Hills?
No. So when we received the radio call, it was assigned to Devonshire, an available Devonshire unit, because that area normally is covered by Topanga. And at that time, I believe Topanga had a perimeter set up that utilized all their available resources. And so we responded with pretty much a delay because we were further out.
So were you helping another division,
We were.
essentially? Okay.
Yes.
How long after you got the call do you think it took you to get to this location?
I don't recall, maybe approximately 20 minutes.
So at this point, you believe that you're just responding to some type of an assault call?
Yes, initially we were thinking we were going to have to take an injury report.
When you arrived, I'm going to show you a photograph. This has been previously marked in the packet. Exhibit 9, this is page 7. This is an aerial view. Do you recognize the house from this aerial view?
I do.
And that's at 5012 Queen Victoria Road, is that correct?
That's correct.
Is that the location that you arrived at?
It is.
Now, can you describe what the scene was like when you arrived?
The fire department was parked outside. We walked up to the residence, and I met with one of the firefighters.
As far as any patrol officers or police officers, were you the first on the scene as far as that?
Yes.
Okay, so when you got there, the fire department was there?
Yes.
And when you arrived there, this has been previously marked also as Exhibit 9. I'm going to put it, yeah, Exhibit 9, and this is page 9. Let me just focus for a second. Is this the house that you arrived at?
Yes.
And then the street in front of the house, is that Queen Victoria, which would be where the driveway into the house would feed into?
Yes.
Can't see it from here. All right, so walk us through then what happened when you arrived.
So when I arrived, I met with the firefighter who I asked, so what do we have? And he responded, the bodies in the backyard.
When you're talking to the firefighter, where is that conversation occurring?
On the sidewalk.
So in front of the house right here?
Just a little to the left of the driveway.
Crime scene, this is a Exhibit 7, previously marked page 11. Is this a closer view then of the driveway?
It is.
Now when you arrived, is this how the scene looked? Meaning the truck there, the garage door open?
I don't remember the truck, but I do remember walking up to the driveway and the garage door was open.
Okay, what else do you recall?
There was no vehicle inside. As I walked into the garage, I noticed there was blood stains on the floor. And then there was an open door leading into the residence from the garage. As I walked in, it led into the kitchen.
Let me give you a photograph of the garage. It's previously marked as Exhibit 7. This is page 14. Let me go out a little bit. Is this a view of the garage then that you walked into?
Yes,
And was it empty, meaning no cars in the garage when you went in?
that's correct.
In the background, the bottom right photograph, there appears to be a door. Is that the door that led into the house?
Yes, it is.
And one more Exhibit 7, page 15. If you could just orient us then as far as the garage, where the door is that leads into the house on this photograph.
The door is to the right of the picture.
Right up here?
Yes.
Okay. There's some placards on the ground. It looks like some white cards. Do you know what those are?
I believe that's where the blood stains were.
So when you walked in at this point, you saw what appeared to be blood stains.
Yes.
And it indicates the area where those placards are, that general area.
Yes.
And then as you entered the house, actually one more, I'm sorry, Exhibit 7, page 19. One more view of that entry, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And there's some more placards that are a little bit closer, or I'm saying placards, but white cards. What are those, by the way?
That's to mark any possible evidence, so that way any officers, anyone who's coming to the scene is aware not to step on that area.
So those white folded pieces of paper, essentially, are those put down in your experience by initial officers when you see something of interest?
Sometimes.
Okay. And then later do forensics people come and actually...
They photograph and take DNA samples if
and they
they
mark
do.
the cards as well?
Yes.
Okay. When you enter that door into the house, where does it lead?
It leads into the kitchen.
And this is Exhibit 7, these off, page 33. This is does that appear to be the kitchen that you recall?
Yes.
And again, did you notice any of these red marks on the floor that appear to look like blood?
Yes. They appear to be footprints with blood. As soon as I noticed that, I asked the firefighter if that was a result of them going in and out of the house, and he replied that those footprints were already there prior to their arrival.
Okay, so it appeared to you to be blood, and then what? When you say footprints, like somebody had stepped in it or tracked it in?
Yes,
You
that's
don't know
correct.
which one?
Right.
Right, okay. Exhibit 8, page 7. In the background there is a door right here. Is that the door from the kitchen?
It is.
Okay, can you just kind of orient us in what you did after you walked through the kitchen, saw what appeared to be blood? Did you walk out to this patio?
Yes. So as soon as I walked in, I observed the footprints. Walked around the island, and a firefighter indicated that the wife and the victim's children were sitting at the dining table.
Okay, so where was the dining room table in relation to the kitchen then?
So facing the door leading to the patio, the dining table was to my right,
All right, and this
facing
is,
it from inside.
let me just go to Exhibit 7, page 44. In the bottom right photograph, there
Yes.
appears to be a dining room table. Is that where you saw people sit?
Yeah. So I was standing between, I would say, between the dining table and the island, facing the door leading out to the patio.
And who did you see sitting at that table?
It was the victim's wife and his 2 daughters.
When you say the victim's wife, do you see her in court?
Yes.
Can you please identify where she's sitting and what she's wearing?
Sitting to my right, she has a white blouse with a red blazer. I'm sorry, a blue blazer.
Now, did you have any direct conversations with the defendant that you recall?
No, not that I recall.
Do you remember anything about the individual sitting at the table? Anything about what was occurring at that moment?
Well, they were sitting there. I heard them crying. I remember her saying, "Why would somebody do this to him?"
When you
Repeatedly.
say her, do you mean the defendant?
Yes,
Okay. And then you saw another, was it female with the defendant?
yes,
Just one?
2 daughters.
2 daughters, okay. Did you have any conversations with the daughters?
Not at that time.
Did you later have a conversation with the daughters?
Yes, with
Okay.
one of the daughters.
All right. Were they over on that table then by themselves?
Yes,
Now, you're one of the first to respond, is that correct?
yes,
So are you the first police officers on scene to encounter those individuals that you know of,
that I know of. Yes,
other than the fire department?
right.
Okay. So what did you do next then?
So then, at that time, I exited the residence into the patio area.
And this is Exhibit 8, page 8. Is that the patio area you walked onto?
Yes.
All right, and can you explain what you saw there?
So when I walked out, I remember seeing the victim with his chest and his head resting on the seat of a patio chair. He had blood around his neck and blood on the floor.
Is that indicated in the photo where the victim is?
Yes.
Is there a pointer up there or no?
Yeah.
There should be.
Behind his TV as well.
This one.
Can you just extend that and then turn around to the screen and just, I'll show you some more photographs, but just for Exhibit 8, page 80. Can you indicate where the victim is then?
The victim is right
And you're pointing to the middle of the photo. It appears to be an individual lying over a chair. And is that the position that you first encountered the victim?
there. Yes.
Exhibit 8, page 9. Again, is that a closer view?
Yes.
Now there's some yellow tape up. No, I'm sorry, well, tape, yes. Did you put that up?
No,
Was that up when you got there?
it was.
Do you know who put it up?
Yes, I asked a firefighter who had put that up, and they said that they had put it up just to preserve any evidence.
And so based on your experience, you're saying to preserve evidence. What does that mean?
Meaning that a crime had occurred, and we needed to just make sure that nobody contaminated the area.
Exhibit 8, page 5. You orient us as far as the direction of this photograph, where we're looking.
Yes, so this is the kitchen area leading out to the patio.
And then Exhibit 8, page 6. Again, is this just another angle?
Yes,
Can you show us where the kitchen door is again?
that's right.
And you're pointing to the left photograph, the door that leads into the house.
Yes.
On Exhibit 7, page 10, Do you recall a fire pit being there?
Yes. It had
Where is
a-
the fire pit?
Fire pit was behind him, this area here. It had an open flame. Had also observed a television that was on.
Okay. And you pointed to a round cylinder type object in the bottom
Yes.
left of the photograph. And you recall the flame being on?
Yes,
The TV was on, you said as well?
it was.
And where was the TV?
TV would, I would say it was, I believe it was, see, in this area back here.
Okay, 1 second. Let's go to photo of that one. All right. And this was Exhibit 8, page 7. He shows where the TV is. And you're pointing to the top of the photograph where there's appears to be a television screen. Okay, what did you do next then?
So the next, I walked into the residence and figured I needed to escort everybody out of the house. So I directed them to walk, exit the house through the front door.
Why are you clearing everyone out of the house?
To pretty much preserve any other evidence that might have potentially been there in the area.
Is that standard procedure then at a crime scene to remove individuals from around and near a crime scene?
Yes.
And when you say preserve evidence again, can you kind of break down what does that mean?
Well, we hadn't cleared the residence yet, so we just wanted to make sure that there was no one else was stepping on either blood and tracking it throughout the house, or any other potential, like I said, evidence.
Your job as a primary responder, was that to go around and look for any evidence and objects at that moment?
At that moment, only what's visible, but mainly is to identify what had occurred.
Then, as you were there, did more officers proceed to arrive?
No.
At some point, more officers came?
Yes.
Okay. So while you're there, were you still there when officers started arriving and detectives and that?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And then they appeared to you to have different responsibilities and roles?
Yes.
Okay. What did you do with the family then?
So as we were walking out from the dining area to the front, I was walking behind the family, and I observed on the left-hand side of the front door there was a hallway leading into what appeared to be a room. I noticed there was like an open drawer and items scattered on the floor.
Let me see if I can get that photograph. One moment. All right, I don't have a photograph of that. So you noticed what appeared to be a bedroom,
Yes.
and it's on the first floor.
Yes.
Did you go into that bedroom?
I did not.
So what exactly could you see within that bedroom?
I remember seeing a drawer that was open and items just scattered on the floor.
And why did that catch your attention?
It just the house wasn't. It didn't appear like it was anything else that had been, I guess, tampered with.
Okay. If I may mark as equals 10, it is a drawing, appears to be a blueprint then.
Yes,
Are you familiar with the layout of the house?
I am.
Can you describe then your point of entry and just walk us through, and then that bedroom that you looked into?
Sure. So this is the driveway, and this is the garage.
And so I have to describe what you're doing for the record. So you're talking, if you could talk it through, in the bottom left corner, you entered, or bottom right corner, you entered in through what's marked driveway.
Right. And then I walk into what's marked garage,
Okay.
and there's a door just at the bottom of that side there in the center of the picture. This leading into the kitchen. So this is where I observed the what appear to be footprints with blood. I walked around this island here, and this is where the firefighter indicated the family was sitting in this area.
And that dining room table, by the way, I'll keep that exhibit up, but People's 7, page 45, is that the dining room table?
Yes.
And then do you remember, there's a placard there marked 21. Do you have any idea what that is?
I don't.
Okay. Go ahead. And back to Exhibit 11.
Okay.
10, I'm sorry.
So as I walked around the island here, I exited the kitchen into the patio area, which is marked patio. And that's where I observed the fire pit with the open flame and the television that was on. At that moment, I went back into the residence and escorted the family out to the front door, and the front door leading over this side here.
If I go Marcus Peoples 11, Your Honor, it's a section, let me see if it's 30. I'm sorry, 30 marked in the book. It's Exhibit 7, page 46. We see a picture of what you've already identified as the family room. Do you see the front door in that photograph?
Yes, front door is right.
Okay, so you walk the family then through the living room to the front door?
Yes.
And then what?
If we can go back to the previous picture.
Yep. And that's Exhibit 10.
So as we're walking here, the family starts to exit the residence. This is where I was able to catch a glimpse of this room here. There was a door leading to a room here.
And you're pointing to a room that has an M bedroom label, is that correct? At the top.
This one here. Yes. So this is where I observed items scattered on the floor.
Okay. And then what happened after that?
And we exited the residence through the front, walked out down the driveway, and as we escorted the family out to the sidewalk, we put up crime scene tape to block off the driveway.
Exhibit 752, was that the doorway in the very back that you could see into?
I believe that's it.
So that's basically, is that a snapshot of the glimpse that you got?
Yes.
And no more than that, just to see that some drawers
That's
were open?
correct.
Okay. What happened then when you got outside?
So as we got outside, like I said, we had taped off the driveway, and immediately contacted Devonshire Watch Commander and Topanga Watch Commanders to let them know what we had discovered.
When you say take off the driveway, Exhibit 7, page 10, is that a photograph then, an accurate one of the driveway that you recall with the gates right there?
Yes,
And when you arrived, do you recall the gates being opened?
they were open.
And your testimony is you don't remember the truck being there one way or the other, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So the tape right there, that was put up by you or someone in your presence?
That was put up by, I believe my partner had put that one.
And that tape again is to keep people from going in and out, is that
That's
correct? Okay. Do you, the individuals that you spoke to, you talked about the defendant and 2 females. If I may mark as People's 11, a photograph of a female individual. Do you remember this girl as being one of those 2 females
Yes.
that you identified as one of the daughters?
Yes.
And if I may mark as People's 12, another photograph of a second female with long hair. Do you recognize this individual as well as being one of those 2 females?
I
One of
do.
the 3 females? Right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, are you familiar with that area? You said it was out of your, basically your jurisdiction. Are you familiar with that area?
I'm not.
When you drove into that area, did you notice any, like when you enter the area, any signs for cameras or anything where the area would be under surveillance?
I did.
Okay, Exhibit 9, and this is page 5. Did you pass this on your way in, responding to the location?
Yes, I did.
And there's some circled areas on the photograph. What were those, or what are those?
So one is a sign indicating that there's video surveillance, and the other is the camera. So this is the camera.
And you're pointing to the right object that's got a red circle around it. Of the 2 objects is the one on the right, correct?
That's correct.
The road that's running up and down the photograph to the left of that camera, do you know what road that is?
I believe that would be Victoria.
Queen Victoria, is that the road that the house was on?
Yes.
Now, if you were to drive up the photograph, so to the top of the photograph, is that the direction that you were traveling to respond to the house on the upper left side?
Yes.
Okay.
Officer, can you move the mic one a little closer to you?
Here I go.
last exhibit 12?
Your last exhibit is 12.
Yes. Okay, I put 12 back up there. That road, do you recall?
Sorry,
if you
that's
were,
not 12.
No, this is
Well, it's
exhibit
female.
9.
oh, sorry, you have the packet. Exhibit 9, page 5, yes, thank you. That Queen Victoria from that direction, from where that camera is going up, do you remember how far up that hill the house was?
I don't, but I know it was quite a walk.
Do you recall, is that a flat road or a hill?
It's a hill.
Okay, like a steep hill or just an average?
Well, going uphill. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Fine.
No further questions.
Councilman Cross.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Officer
Good morning.
Rebolledo. Is it Rebolledo or Rebolledo?
Rebolledo.
Rebolledo. If there's anything I ask you that's confusing or you need me to clarify, just let me know, okay?
Yes, sir.
So this is going back quite a while. January 23rd, 2017, correct?
Yes.
Did you write a report
I
in this
did.
case? And did you review that report prior to testifying here
I did.
today? When did you review it?
I've reviewed it just this morning.
And did you discuss the report with the district attorneys to say if there's anything you left out or was missing or incorrect?
I think I met with them, I wouldn't say maybe back in March of last year.
Okay, and that was the last time you met with them prior to testifying today?
No.
No? When did you meet again?
This morning.
This morning? Okay. And it was just to discuss scheduling and things like that?
That's correct.
Okay. Regarding your role, did you review your report this morning again?
My statement from the location.
Okay. And your statement from this location, did you do you remember saying that you received the dispatch at approximately 1726?
If I could take a look.
Yeah,
at my
if you need to, you can refresh your recollection.
That's correct.
That's correct. So 1726, you received the dispatch for a possible assault, correct?
That's correct.
And other than that, you had no information regarding what had occurred or anything like that.
That's correct.
And you said it took you about 20 minutes, approximately?
I think so, yeah.
Sorry, can you just let me finish so we can
Sure.
get both down? Thank you. And took you about 20 minutes. When you arrived at the scene, you said you entered through the driveway, then walked through the garage, correct?
That's correct.
Did you go by yourself or with your partner?
I went by myself.
What was your partner doing when you arrived?
My partner was outside of the residence.
He was just waiting for you to get back out?
Yeah, I believe he might have been talking to the rescue ambulance. The
Okay.
paramedics.
And you first spoke to, I believe it's firefighter Kokinski, is that correct? Is that who
Yes.
greeted you?
Yes,
And he explained to you what the scene was when you arrived?
that's correct.
And after he explained to you what the scene was, what was your role when you got that information?
So at that time, he walked me into the to the residence and directed me where the victim was.
So the firefighter escorted you through that residence, correct?
That's correct.
And just a quick clarification on People's Exhibit 7, page 15. Do you have that? Can I borrow that, please?
First one? Yeah, yeah.
No, the-
Sorry.
Well,
We gave the sets to Esther, so she has all three sets.
thank you. You got it? Was this the garage as you remember it on that night?
Yes,
So this photo would be a clear indication of the state of where everything was the night of the 23rd, correct?
I wasn't the one that put up the markers.
Okay, I was mainly talking about the furniture, nothing else. As what you remember when you walked into the garage, as it appears on this photograph,
Yes.
correct? Okay. And when you were escorted into the residence by the firefighter, were you introduced to the family by the firefighter?
No, he just pointed out where the family was.
And they were there before you walked inside the house, correct?
That's correct.
And you heard them crying, I believe you said?
Yes.
And do you remember you said something about you heard saying, why would somebody do this? Do you remember who said that?
I believe it was his wife. The
His
victim's
wife. His wife said that? Okay. And that's who you identified previously in court?
That's correct.
Regarding the crime scene, your role at that time was just to assess what had occurred, correct?
That's correct.
And once you did, you noticed the bloody footprints, correct?
That's correct.
And the firefighter reported to you that it was not his footprints that tracked it, correct, or any other firefighter's footprints that tracked it?
That's correct.
And was your role, I believe you said you now work in evidence management pickup?
Yes.
In that division?
Yes, sir.
That wasn't your role back then, correct?
No.
So you had no role in preserving evidence, taking pictures of evidence, putting any placards throughout this?
No.
The extent of your role merely was to assess the initial crime scene, correct?
That's correct.
And when you got out to the back, you observed the victim's body in the chair, correct?
That's correct.
Did you touch the victim's body or manipulate it in any way to assess for injuries or anything like that?
No. The fire department had already determined that the victim had been deceased, and they had taped off the patio area.
So you did not walk into that taped area, correct?
I did not.
You merely observed.
Yes.
And anything that you observed that you deemed important, you put into your report, correct?
Yes.
And afterwards, you walked back into the kitchen, correct?
That's correct.
And what happened afterwards? Did you go directly to the family?
I asked the family if actually no. I asked everyone to exit the residence.
Did you?
So the family.
You introduced yourself first, correct? And
I don't remember if I did.
Okay, but you escorted them out.
Yes.
And that's when you observed the drawer being empty, or the scattered items on the floor, and that
Yes.
drawer open, correct? In that one bedroom you
Right
previously-
before we exited. Yes.
And when you walked outside, your partner was still out there talking to the other firefighters,
I believe he was. Yes.
and you escorted them out through the gate, and then your partner taped off the area.
Yes.
Did you ever return back inside the house after the?
I did not.
What did you do the rest of the night after you got outside?
So we, like I stated earlier, we notified Devonshire Watch Commander and Topanga Watch Commanders of what we had discovered, so that they could send out additional resources.
And afterwards, I believe you said in your direct that you spoke to one of the daughters later.
Yes.
Do you remember which daughter that was?
I don't.
Could those pictures help you possibly identify which one it was?
No.
You don't remember?
No.
Did you? What was that conversation about?
It was brief. She was just she was crying, stating that she felt guilty because I guess her father had just purchased a vehicle that was apparently stolen, and she had posted that on her social media, and she figured that maybe that's what drew attention.
Okay, so that was the extent of the conversation.
That was it.
Did you didn't put that in your report, did you?
No.
Okay. And you didn't ever speak to Ms. Sementilli, the victim's wife, about anything, did you?
I don't recall I did. No.
Okay. And how long were you at the house for that night?
Inside the house?
Outside? Just the duration. When did you arrive at? You arrived at the crime scene, I'd say around what, 5:45 p.m.
Yeah, I would say it was a few hours, approximately maybe 3 hours.
Approximately. Okay, and what was your role after your initial thing throughout? Were you just there to lead assistance if needed, or anything
Yes.
like that?
So because it wasn't our division, I notified Topanga Watch Commander, and he immediately sent a supervisor to our area. Like I had stated, Topanga units were stuck on a perimeter at that time. So as soon as there were available resources, they were sent to our location.
Understood. And you mentioned, I believe, that you believe the house was tampered with only in that one bedroom you observed, right? The rest of the house you didn't see?
That's correct.
Did you go into any of the other bedrooms or walk around the house at all?
I did not.
So you don't know what the rest of the crime scene was in terms of how it looked or appeared ransacked or tampered with?
That's correct.
One moment, Your Honor. Did you report your findings to anyone outside of your watch commander?
To Topanga watch commanders and to the detectives as they were arriving.
So you spoke to the detectives as they arrived?
Yes. Just to let them know what I had observed.
Do you remember which detective you spoke with?
I don't.
Did you tell them essentially what you testified to today about what you had observed?
Yes.
Was there any other information that you told them that was not in your report?
Not that I recall.
Okay. One moment, Your Honor. Nothing further, thank you.
Can you redirect?
No redirect, Your Honor. However, I did want to correct one exhibit, if I may.
All right, you may. Do we need this officer for you to correct the exhibit? Thank you, officer. You are excused.
Thank you.
And what is it you wish to correct?
I put up an exhibit. I said it was from the packet that we marked as Exhibit 7. Page 10 is actually for, Exhibit 8.